No Jumper, coolest podcast in the world. And today we got a very, very interesting conversation taking place on this podcast. Okay, let's just do the introductions first so that everybody can get on the same page. Introduce yourself.
Beefy Loke from Eastside Long Beach. You know what I mean? Dad's Gang, Dog Pound.
Okay, and
I'm JayR, JayR McIntyre. People know me as Tay K's uncle, Ricky Harris's nephew. I'm really tapped in my city, Long Beach, and that's my uncle right there.
for sure.
Yeah.
And so, okay, I was under the impression that we were going to be having a conversation with his mom as well. What is the status of that and exactly what's going on with that?
Well, his mom, she deals with a lot of backlash. I'm sure you know how
Really?
social media, a lot of hate, a lot of texts, a lot of DMs, a lot of people that don't understand my nephew's case and what my sister been through to go through that. She went into depression. She went into hiding. She started taking drugs. My uncle will let you know a lot about that. But I had to go get her recently and rehab her and get her and love her back because she took that hard on herself that her son got that situation and she wasn't there fully to be his mother all the way. You know what I'm saying? So people don't know that story. They know that my nephew went to jail, but they don't know what my sister did to try to prevent all that situation and what happened.
Right. So she's still in Texas?
Nuh-uh, she lived with me.
Okay. Yeah. In California?
No, in Florida.
In Florida?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I live in Florida now.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. Because, I was going through the details of the case and stuff. And one interesting thing, I don't know if you know this, is that I do a podcast with a guy named DW Flame from Long Beach who represents
My family.
Right.
Baby Insane Crips out of Long Beach, one of the bigger gangs from out there.
Yeah.
And at the time of Tay K being born, she was actually associated with that, although I believe that she later on left that.
No, she's still from,
She's still
so
technically
my
from
mother
there,
from Insane, my mom, my sister, a lot of my cousins, a lot of my uncles, and then a lot of my uncles and aunties on the other side is from 20s. This is Beefy Loke, he from 20 Crip, he's from East Side. That's my mentor, that's my big homie. He told me a lot of the game when I was little. So Long Beach is a big family. So yeah, we know DW.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
Our family.
Yeah.
okay, definitely. Great man.
Yeah.
But so the interesting thing, I guess, about Tay K, well, tell me a little bit about what you know to have been his mom's situation when he was born. Because a lot of
Speculation.
when the story is told of Tay K online, it's frequently told as a story about, a kid whose parents basically weren't around or were kind of fully in the streets.
That wasn't true though.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's why I'm here to clarify that because, what I'm saying, I am her brother. She lives with me. We went through a lot. So me and my sister was born in Long Beach, California. Our mother was, she was a crackhead. So we was born in that 80s crack baby situation, After we were born, we moved to Los Angeles to 101st and Avalon. And, it was me and my dad and my sister. My mom was still dealing with a lot of situations. She happened to sell my sister to a drug house for drugs. And that's really started the snowball effect for
A sister of what age?
my sister. I think she had to be 4 or 5 years old.
Sold her to a drug house for what purposes?
To get more. She didn't have the money. They took so the story is they took my sister through the window. My mom got the she bounced.
What were they supposed to do with the kid?
Back in the 80s, what I'm saying? We don't know what happened to my sister in the house, and she experienced a lot of trauma.
That's where the story ends. You never were able to figure out what happened?
Well, they said that she was touched on in there. It was a lot of things that speculated. She was a little girl in the house.
Oh my God.
Everybody got to put their imagination together what happened. So I don't like to talk about it.
Right.
I was younger, but she experienced these things before her kids were even born. And my mother, so after that, my mother passed away of HIV when I was 8 or 9 years old. So we suffered that. We lost our mom. Yeah, at a younger age, and it was hard for us. So my sister was never right after that. We had our dad, and my dad was strong. He's from Long Beach. He's a preacher. He did his best to instill discipline into us, but all we knew was gang activities and drug activities.
Right.
When I was in the 3rd grade, I got put on my hood. My sister started gang banging Insane when she was like in her teens. So my sister and my mother both from Insane Crip in Long Beach. So, you could tell the story. So now you know what we saw and what product we was coming from. So then on after that, my dad took me after my sister ran away because she just, she wasn't getting her situation together. I let her out the house when she ran away in North Long Beach. So she ran away, and I never seen her no more after that.
Really?
So I was like sporadically see her in the streets, in the park, hanging out with her section, doing all these things. As a kid growing up, I would see her because we 2.5 years behind. So I graduated from high school. She didn't. So she was out there in the streets, down on the east side of Long Beach doing what she had to do. And then, just to survive, because that's all we knew. Our mother left us in that situation. I listened a little bit more to my father, and she went the other way to figure out life. And I always tell people all the time, if my sister wasn't, she would be dead, because I saw her do things harder than the hardest, that I know. And it's no diss to anybody else, but she was with all the, because we saw it with our aunties, our uncles, our cousins, all our cousins gangbang, all our uncles, all our aunties. My mama was from the
whole environment.
Yeah, the whole environment. And I can't tell this Long Beach story without bringing, a Beefy loc, because when we were growing up, we were looking at them. He ran with Snoop. He ran with Dog Pound. If you look at their old footages, you will see he was like one of their bodyguards, but he was the muscle man. He was really in the streets. Whatever they was rapping about, that's what he was doing. So he would go to prison. I couldn't see him. He would come home, go to prison. So his mentorship would be brief with me, but hey, stay on the right road. But then my other uncle, Ricky Harris, is a comedian. I don't know if you,
Right.
Yeah, so he died. So when he died, it brought me back to Long Beach to get more integrated back with my family,
So
because I left. Yeah, he pushed me to the army.
Pushed them to, because the choice was outside. But the point is, the circumstance where we at, you either gangbang or that's it.
Yeah.
So you speaking to a generation of people to where their circumstance was like a fishbowl. But because these women, we were never given morality or spirituality. We were given condition. So like for him to evolve and come from these things, the better thing is to understand that some people will always be a victim of what happened to them.
Right.
And the strength to get past it, that's the issue. Because we could blame, but people don't understand that a child that missed something will never get that back. So every wounded child is the thing that is a product of these things.
Yeah.
Like you are who you are, but you have a moral and a certain compass about yourself because your parents gave that to you. But other people, when it's your choice, they're not as strong as you. And other people can't, but you look at things and say, why? But I won't judge you because of your actions. I'm gonna judge you on what you're trying to do.
And that's well said, because he's a very reputable OG in Long Beach. So he was the reason why my life started to change, because him, my uncle Ricky Harris, a lot of the people in the neighborhood was like, hey, after I went to county jail, go to the Army. So we talked about it, and my dad was pressing me to go, and I was rebuking it, and I was running with the homies. And once I got out of county jail, I was in the Army 2 weeks later, and I never looked back. And I left because the towers fell in 2001, and I left in 2002 to go fight a different war. I was leaving one war in Long Beach because it was rough, and then going to the Army. So I'd rather do it for the Army. So from 2002 to 2016, 17, I was away. So that mentorship.
15 years. That's a lot longer than the average person does.
Yeah, exactly. Right? And I was in combat. You know what I'm saying? I got injured in Iraq and Afghanistan. I did my thing, and I got out, and I wanted to selfless serve. But that mentorship my sister didn't have. A lot of people paint that story on social media about his parents, but they really don't understand the struggle she had to even be her. She didn't have a chance to do anything. All we knew was turmoil. And I know this story goes around and it's poor me, but no, I wanted to justify it and clarify it at the same time and say, while she was having kids, she was still a kid and trying to figure out why her mama died of AIDS and why she was sold to a drug house at an early age. So to me and her, why did our mom give up on us, right?
Because a lot of people, their gut reaction, even to me, to seeing me having this conversation, would be to say, Tay K was a monster.
Right.
Why are you trying to humanize him?
Right.
Why are you trying to show a portrayal of him when he allegedly, took people's lives and all this type of shit? Then you rewind the clock and you look at his mother and you realize the situation she was in. But then the stuff you said about her mother, you got to rewind it even more and say, look, this is a long, systematic series of events that are very unfortunate. And to just say, Tay K was a monster is a gross oversimplification of the situation, right?
And I have to deal with that sometimes. And the fact that is my nephew. We carry the same last name. I had to discontinue a lot of people that was like, your nephew's a murderer. You don't even know what happened in that situation. If you, first of all, if you had a child or someone you loved, you'd be cautious how you stepped on that situation. Third of all, you got to understand, we all human beings, right? We go through some things. If you take the shell off the covering, then you could point the finger at me, because what I did in Iraq and Afghanistan, I did the same thing, but he never did that. I really went to war and did that. This was a baby out there trying to figure out why his mama was away, dealing with situations, foster care, him and his sister, Kayla, shout out to Kayla, and my other nephew, Cameron, that's his brother that my sister left in Mississippi. So they don't know these stories of my sister kids. And once she had her kids, she dipped out because she didn't understand herself because of mental health. So that's why I had to go back and get my sister. She's been living with me now for almost 3 years. And I had to love her back to health, because God was like, JayR, like, if you're going to continue this path and mentor kids and beat yourself up for not mentoring Tay K that's serving 55 years, you got to go get the beginning, which is my sister, and love her. And when it's time, then she can give that love back to her kids. It's not over.
Paint the picture for people who are listening to this of exactly how out of control Long Beach was at the time, because I feel like a lot of people might go there now. It's been gentrified. There's a lot of nice little shops and shit. There's nice areas like Signal Hill that people move to live nice, comfortable lives. But
see, I'm gonna say this.
I'm sure it wasn't always like that.
You can hear from the OG.
Let me say this. It's like this. See, me, there's always right and wrong in everything. Okay. Now, when you outside and you choose a rule that you don't know what it means. And so everybody makes a mistake, but the mistake gives us the courage to be a better person. So the depth of what you know and how you look at something, because when people get hurt, the person that did it is wrong and the person that got hurt was wrong. But there's always a space right here of reality like this. Myself to die and my survival. And if these environments produce that, I'm a product of my environment. I'm not defending my wrong. I'm defending my life. See what I'm saying? The choice, it's like my opinion is any man or woman or child that has been hurt. If you have the courage to share that and teach somebody else that pain that you acquired, you're selfish.
In Long Beach, for me, man, like growing up, like it was a different element. Like, people judge Long Beach off what they see now, but it was a war zone, growing up, especially against each other. And then, like, people don't know, Long Beach, our biggest rival is the Mexicans, right? So growing up, walking to school as a 8, 9, 10-year-old, we shut our middle school down with a riot, Mexicans against blacks, and we shut our high school down 2 years in a row with a riot, 2 years in a row, and people stabbed, people hurt, people thrown over the science building, and these are gangs, right? So, and these are situations that we go to school and deal with and have to be able to succumb that and understand and build hard skin, because either you get bagged on, or you bag on them back, or you get socked on, or you sock on them back. So what you gonna do? So where you gonna be from? And all my family was all from the east side of Long Beach. I'm the only one that stayed North Long Beach, and I rep that part really well, and because that's where I came from. But all my inspiration is from Long Beach, period. And we stick together like our family, everything. Like if we go to like Cal Rec, or if we go out to a park or somewhere, you see like P Nice. I know P Nice.
Shout out to
You know,
Nice.
shout out to P Nice, shout out to Sabi.
family.
Like back in the day, I was Sabi bodyguard.
Really?
I was his body. Like I got footage. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to them, and they keeping the city lit. And when in Long Beach, we stay strong. And I got that concept from back in the day in the 80s. They used to call Long Beach Strong Beach. And why? Because we all programmed, we all ate good, we worked out, we were educated, and people don't understand a lot of the martial arts came from Long Beach. So that's why I study my martial arts, and that's why I do what I do. Because at the end of the day, Long Beach,
But
what they
everybody
taught
don't like every
is warriors. You know,
You understand?
you got to be a warrior, and
It's
that's
like
what the Army.
We don't have other gangs. It's 90% Crips, everybody else, and then the Hispanics. And the issue with the black and Hispanic thing is just because of the elements of life.
That's it.
But see, the thing about it, I know the platform, you understand? But what I'm saying is the issue of the way that we communicate as far as gang people, it has to come to a point to where we evolve to understand that we're hurting ourselves. And the results of this is the damage that we commit to. Even though you're defending yourself, because there is a right and wrong, and there's a right and right. But nobody gets the picture of our society. It's like, yeah, I'm from 20s, 19th Street, feel me, West Coast. So what? But it's like, you know where you were born. But guess what? Where were you born? Like
New Hampshire.
Okay, listen. So if a from New Hampshire fly here right now, and somebody kicking his ass just because he's from New Hampshire, isn't it your job?
No.
You get it now?
Different place.
Thank you. No, you hear what I'm saying?
It's not like Long Beach.
no, that's not what I'm saying. No, it is, but
Yeah, it's got nothing to do with
you
me.
get what I mean? And we have to grow up. Now that,
Right.
what you just said,
It's foreign to you.
is my fucking point. No, it's not.
Oh.
It's the exact thing I'm saying.
Okay.
Maturity.
You're like this. I am above that. But I was raised under this fatherless condition.
Right.
You understand what I mean? So a child only can blame the parenting. But the child will never take the blame because they had to allot the parenting. But us being human, feel me? And because we're not being mankind. We're not mankind. Because, okay, whatever happens, we're supposed to judge him. I got dirty hands, I'm supposed to judge you. But we're in too much in a depth of a way of judgment and characterizing things that situationally happen as a great event. But we can never change yesterday. We can only be the better us. I don't allot a room for the exposure to determine right and wrong. When this guy, when you have a baby, there ain't no handbook. Nobody gave you a handbook on how you're gonna be your father. You don't even fucking know yet. But what you're gonna do to maintain and do that and learn how to do it is whatever fucking condition you're living. So the better man you are. But when you get an opportunity to be spoken to and speaking with, the opinion of comprehension should be portrayed first.
Right.
Not a portrayal of, this is my understanding, I believe right and wrong. Fuck that. I don't know what that person chose to be right and wrong. Somebody's dead. That's fucked up. But there's always a uniqueness, no matter what tragedy, to find courage to better something. Because you're going to be put in a situation where you have to defend it. He is. Everybody is. But everything and every individual don't have the audacity or courage lacking to be great at being a great person.
For sure. How well did you know Tay K's father?
I knew Kevin a lot.
He's from Long Beach?
Yeah, no, he's from Compton.
Compton, okay.
Yeah, so he was a Compton Crip.
Okay.
Yeah. So he was a Compton. He was from Compton, and I remember him and my sister going to the prom. I remember meeting him the day after. I think I guess they linked up and stuff like that. So he was active in the streets. Actually, his father, before the kids were born, was in a drive-by shooting, sitting in the car, and his best friend and him got shot in the car. His best friend died, and he got shot a bunch of times, riddled, and almost died. So
wow.
And that was in Compton, and that was in the 90s.
Okay.
I remember that.
And Tay K's mom, your sister, had how many kids before him?
Before Tay K?
Yeah.
She had Kayla.
Okay,
Shout
just
out to
Kayla.
Yeah, Kayla. It's Kayla, Tay K, and then Cameron.
Who has done interviews on like Say Cheese and
Yeah,
shit
I
like
saw
that.
that,
So
yeah.
her story is out there as well.
Yeah.
But so then, how long? At what point did they move? Or at what point did his dad get locked up? I guess because he did a long bid there, right?
Yeah, his dad and his mom was back and forth to jail since the early 2000s, back and forth.
And so he was in foster homes a bunch and stuff.
Yeah, so when my sister would go to jail, he'd go to foster care. When his daddy would be getting out, his daddy would get for him, go for the kids. But I remember vividly when I was stationed in Fort Bliss that I had an opportunity to get them as foster kids and bring them into my household. They came and checked out my house. They did all the paperwork. I was good. And then his dad was getting out of jail, so the dad took the kids. And I felt like that's where I hold myself to the fire, was I was because I would see my nephew and my niece when I got back from deployment. I would go pick them up. They was in Killeen, Texas, and I would go see them in different parts of Texas and bring them back to me and vacation with me for a couple of weeks or a month and get to know them and love them, because I was the one that brought them back from Mississippi to California as babies. People don't know that story. My sister got left for dead in the woods in Mississippi. It was a domestic violence charge that her father, that their dad did to my sister, and I never forgave him for that, and almost killed my sister and left her in Mississippi. So I had to take the babies and bring them back to California.
Wow.
Yeah, and I was only 17 or 18.
Holy shit.
Yeah, so people don't see that story too. So Kayla was 4, he was 2, so he was a baby.
Okay. And so he spent a lot of time in California as a young kid, or did he spend most of his childhood in Texas?
No, so California and Mississippi as a like 2 to like 6, and then from like 7 to like the rest of the time they with my sister in Vegas, and then to Texas. So they got took in Vegas from foster care. My sister went to jail, and then they got put in the system, and that's how they ended up in Texas.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so do you remember having any conversations with Tay K about the gang thing? Because he had a lot of Crip-related lyrics, like even at a certain point, him doing all the crazy stacked gang signs together became like kind of like this iconic image of him. For a lot of people, they just couldn't believe they were looking at a kid this young who knew, 15 different gang signs that he was putting all together and shit like that. Like, what was his early education into all that?
Well, he was a product of his environment. He saw his dad. His dad was a Crip. His mama was still banging, so that's a Crip family. So he saw that, and then who my sister had him around early in his baby years and early in his one digits, from like probably 1 to about 9, probably more than that. He I don't know if you guys know the legendary rapper that come out of Long Beach, Trey D. So my
I had
sister
Trey D on here before,
yeah, a shout out to Trey D. My sister was best friends with his wife, so Tay K was raised around
his current wife too, right?
No, the wife before that, I think.
Oh, okay. Because I remember he had a woman with him when he came to do the interview a few years back. Yeah.
I don't want to cross him. I don't know which one it is, but I know my sister was best friends with his wife before. So Tay K and Kayla was always around all the Insanes, all the babies. So Tamar started claiming babies because a lot of my uncles and a lot of my cousins are from babies and Insane. So that's two different. Insane is the umbrella, and underneath is babies and all the other stuff that goes on with that part of Long Beach. So he started to develop that way. So when I would get him and see him, I would try to teach him more tactical stuff. I was in the military, so hey, this is what you do, because he was always infatuated with martial arts and shooting. So I would go out there and do certain things with water guns and BB just to show him and do some things with him, and that's what he wanted to do. So I was like, okay, he might be a cop, he want to be military, but what I'm saying, in his mind it was still fresh. But he always been smart at music though. I remember him making music in the closet in Texas and buying him some keyboards and doing certain things. He's always been lyrical, always rapped all the 50 Cent lyrics. Shout out to 50 Cent. Always rapped all the East Sider lyrics, always rapped all the Dog Pound lyrics. Like he knew them, like it was that little kid you put in the back of the car and you put on the song, and he rapped everything. So,
definitely. And so how much time did you end up spending in Texas while he was out there. And was he just out there with the foster home shit, or
No,
his mom ended up meeting him out there at some point?
His mom, his dad, and his grandfather lives out there.
Okay.
So he bounced around them situations. So I would see him like probably every spring break, summertime. Him and I got some pictures that I could dump to you guys. It's in that at his earlier years before he was anything. So he was there with my kids hanging out. I was still active in the Army. I didn't retire till 2016. So.
Right, which is like immediately before he ended up catching his charge and everything, right?
Exactly, yeah. So I remember that day vividly, his video going viral, and people was playing it, and it was like, his last name is McIntyre, and I'm like, oh, I ain't tripping. I'm all over the world. Like, this can't be nobody I'm talking about.
Right.
And when they showed me, it was my nephew. And I was like, that's my nephew. And people didn't believe it. Like, no, you saying it so candidly. I'm like, that's my sister's son.
Right.
So, and it was crazy because I don't know if you saw my conversation I had with my sister on my platform. She was telling me, I said, how did you find out about this type of song? And she said she was walking up Compton Boulevard and the beauty supply store was playing the music, and she heard it. She was like, that's my son. He played that for me before. Who got that song? And it was on the radio circulating, and she went in there dancing and doing her thing, and they was like, get out of our store. Like, and she was like, no, that's my son. Look at our picture. So yeah. So
okay, but before we get to the race and everything, were you aware of his dad abusing him? Because that's something that's been kind of reported in a bunch of the documentaries and stuff, is that his dad, when he got out of prison, that began like a different type of life for him where he was getting beat up and shit.
Right, Kayla, I heard her talk about it vividly, and I heard him talk about it on platforms. It didn't get told to me, but I mean, I just told you already what happened to my sister in Mississippi. So you put two and two together, just like, again, it ain't no shout to him or try to damage his character, but all I know about is what happened with my sister. And I heard the abuse with the kids. So.
Right. And then, okay, there was another situation that I believe would have happened while you were still overseas, where basically they're coming home from a party and Tay K's in a car with his friends, and they get into an argument with another car, and I don't believe people really know like what the argument was about or anything, but one of the guys with Tay K ends up pulling out a gun, shooting at the car, and killing like a young white girl, like a teenage girl.
Yeah.
And I saw like the news report of her parents talking about it and everything like that. But apparently Tay K was so young that his name didn't even make it into the police report, and he was basically like didn't have to deal with any consequences from this or whatever. But you could imagine that was probably a pretty traumatic event and something that would have probably like really normalized murder in his mind, to have been so close to a situation like this and then not have to really deal with any repercussions.
Right. I heard about that. And like I said, it was trickulating through the news, through my family in situations like that, but we didn't know who was involved and how he was involved and how much or how deep. So when you start reading the tabloids and, that is your nephew, but we are so far in a situation where, he's with his dad now, but he was in a foster care. But hey, I thought you guys were, looking after him. What's going on? So, and then on the search to try to find my sister, like, hey, are you okay? What's going on? How's your mental? You hear this? What's going on? So it was a lot going on around that situation. So, but you hear the stories, you hear the ugliness, and it's sad that people don't take time to open up that package and see like really things that you hear, and then you DM the kid's mom like she didn't have anything to do with that. But you can feel how painful it could be to open up something that, like, we're not expecting everybody to be nice, but damn, like, be respectful, right? And understand the story.
It's crazy how much I expect that at this point, that like, I didn't even need you to tell me that people were harassing his mom. I just assumed, because people do things that are 1% as extreme as what happened with Tay K, and the family gets harassed, the mom gets harassed. It's just like such a consistent thing online these days, which I really wish was not the case, because almost always the people getting harassed are basically innocent, I would think.
Right, definitely, yeah. And, it's sad because I have to pick up the pieces and deal with that, because my main thing was making sure I usher her back to health, right? her mental health was damaged before these kids got here. Now that the kids are here and she's having to go through this, it's been a tragic 7 to 8 years from the moment they picked him up to till now. She didn't want to do anything because it's like y'all blaming her for something that you think that we had control over, but we were a product of our environment. But we're not looking to say poor me, but at least understand, like, right? Like, you know what I'm saying? Our mother left us. You think she know how to raise kids? She loved them to death, but you think but nobody gave us instructions on how, but you think that she knew how, and after everything she was dealing with and going with, who knows what she been through out there. My sister living under bridges, in boxes. My mama lived on Skid Row. So it's a heavy cycle of what we saw. So that's what I saw. I saw my mama on Skid Row. I saw my mama selling drugs. I saw my mama in late night parties. She, you know what I'm saying, back in the day, she had me dressed up like I was Eazy-E. So that's what she was raising that too. And if my father didn't step in, then I would have probably been the first Tay K, right? Because that's what I saw.
What was his living situation at the time that he ended up catching this case that ended up in a murder charge? Like, who was he staying with in Texas at that time?
I believe he was staying with his manager at that time.
Oh, okay. Who, Ezra?
Ezra, but it's not his manager now.
Okay.
And he was living from house to house with friends, and Pimpy, and it's another friend that he was with that's from Texas.
Right.
Forgot his name, but yeah, he was back and forth between them homes because he had run away too, you know what I'm saying? Kayla tried to provide a better situation because she was a big sister, but he was out there already.
Yeah, and it's crazy because when you read about the details of how that robbery turned murder happened, it's just like, it sounds so childish when you're reading about it, because they show up at the house. They think that it's just going to be one dude. It's a bunch of dudes. And they think that there's going to be a bunch of money or a bunch of shit that they would want to steal, and it ends up being like almost nothing there. Right. So it's like when you're reading about it, it really sounds like this is the kind of, robbery that, a 16, 17-year-old kid would put together with, and just the fact that he had like 2 of his friends involved, plus a bunch of girls. It's like anybody who knows anything about committing crimes, you're not supposed to just involve a shitload of different people. That's the number one way you're going to get caught. Right. But that ended up obviously being kind of the primary thing that sent his life into turmoil. Do you remember when you first heard about it? Because you probably heard about that before the song came out, right?
I did. I heard about that. I was still in the Army, and I think I had just got home from work, and I was looking. I think it flashed because I lived in Texas, so it flashed across the screen, and my heart dropped. And I was like, "That's my nephew," but I can't really keen in on that because it's like this is a real situation unfolding, and I want to get to his mom to figure out what is happening and how can we assist. So his first court date, I was there. So I don't know if you see the picture circulating when it was a video. He was in a jail cell, and his sister and his brother, they was talking to him face to face. That was me. I was there from the first court date until the current situation because I wanted to put hands on because we couldn't find my sister. So I wanted to be there. I was there with Ezra. So if you know Ezra, he'll tell you, his uncle tapped in with us. But my nephew, he was so of a leader, so he had his team really, really, really tight. Still to this day. So yeah, me and his mom, we still, I make sure that, he's safe and he's mental, but his mom talks to him every day. His sister talks to him every day, but he has his team really tight, his manager and his whole productivity and everything he's got going on anticipation of whatever's going to happen.
Just as a sidebar, it sounds like you have some complicated feelings about your time serving our country.
Sometimes I do because I beat myself up for juggling serving my country or mentoring my nephew, right? So I did a lot of good things for my country, and I did a lot for myself, and I'm proud of myself. But sometimes I go back in the closed room and I deal with my anxiety or my PTSD from the Army, and I think about my nephew, and I'm like, how? Because I'm a mentor now, I'm a motivational speaker. I speak to kids, and one of the bigger reasons why is because I felt like I didn't give him that attention he needed. Right?
But in a sense, did the Army? Did that kind of save you from the streets?
The Army saved me. Yeah. It took me away from one war. It took me to another. But at the end of the day, I got, I get benefits for this war. I'm retired for the rest of my life. So I'm happy. And I'm happy them conversations happened between my father and my uncles and everybody that was pushing me. Hey, you know what? Don't stay here and gangbang, JayR. go to the Army. And when I got out the Army, I mean, of course, you saw me a few times. You know, I transitioned in from 2017 to a bodyguard and being all like a lot of A-list celebrities bodyguards and protecting them because I like selfless service. So I did that for a while, especially for a lot of people, you know.
Do you feel like Tay K was the kind of kid who would have benefited from serving his country, or do you feel like he was such a rebel spirit that he wouldn't have been able to fall in line like you have to live that kind of life?
I think he would have been a good soldier because he likes the contact, he likes the tactical stuff. He's very intelligent, he's very smart, he's very articulate. I don't know what people or what social media think of him, but he's a smart kid. If he was able to do that at 14, 15, imagine now. You know, imagine. So if you take that time capsule away and that never happened, how far would he be right now in the music industry? He came out with the Playboy Cardis, the XX Extensions. He was the leader of that SoundCloud. So imagine now what he'll be probably. And I mean, this, like I said, there's no hit to anybody else, but he'll probably be leading a young school like NBA YoungBoy, probably way above that situation. Lil Durk, probably with young Lil Baby, all them. He'll be up there with them. You know what I'm saying? Because I saw his talent. I hear his music. I hear his unreleased. I talk to him. He reads. He's getting into a mode of more maturity. So it's like, I just, I pray for him every day, and I pray for his mentor, and I pray for my sister. So, one day they can reunite.
So then he's on the run for 3 months.
Yeah.
He makes his way to Jersey. He's being relatively flagrant throughout that time, kind of just going shopping and just ending up on people's social media and stuff. And I guess the marshals are like after him the whole time. And then during this time period, he ends up catching this other murder case, which hasn't even gone to trial yet, right?
Yeah, they go on to trial.
And so the crazy thing about that, too, is that the first murder case that he's already been given 55 years for, he didn't pull the trigger in that situation, right? He just helped to plan the robbery.
He was just there. He was a minor there. He was influence heavy, we all know that he didn't pull that trigger. So I think the guy who did got 20 years, and then my nephew got 55 because I think it was the mockery of the judicial system.
Right.
The song he made. And I remember what the judge told him when I was there, when he first got here. So it's like, I knew why that judge, he felt that way because, Texas is hard on their criminals, especially African American. So I believe if that stuff happened in California, he would have been out already. But in Texas, it's different.
That's what I was thinking watching this documentary about it, because I'm like seeing people get 40 years just for being there and shit. And especially like, okay, the guy who pulls the trigger gets 20 years.
Yeah.
He gets 50 years. I'm not surprised that he got a harsh sentence as a result of the song and the fact that this was a whole social media spectacle. But the fact that he got 2.5 times as much as the guy who pulled the trigger is kind of shocking.
And nobody's spreading the light on that. And that's what I've been saying from the beginning because he was 14, 15 going in.
Right.
He went to prison, right? And this is by no means and this is for social media, people that want to beat me up. This is no means to go that way, but you locked him up with grown men. So now we challenging his mental health. What happened to my nephew in there? What did he go through? What is his experiences? We're not talking about that, right? So if you did that, now you times that, he been in there 7 years, right? So it's like, what are we doing? Are y'all sitting on it to it rot? What are we talking about? Because this is a human being in a situation where he was there, right? But if he didn't pull the trigger and y'all know that, can we figure this other equation out?
And there was a girl who was there who got 10 years probation.
Right, she was there too.
And she might not have been as instrumental in planning it or some shit like that, but she was basically had like a similar role to what he did. And she got
10
really
years probation.
Slap on the wrist in comparison to 50 years.
Right. So, we all know that's unfair. And I think that right now, even going into this year and next year, he should already have time served. It'll be 8-9 years, right? All right, he's about to be 23 years old, in June. He's a Gemini, so I don't know nearly as much as he does about his own case, but on the outside looking in as his uncle, that's not fair at all. And Charleston White, me and him tapped in with each other, but we were supposed to have a conversation. He called me, we talked, but then, the powers that be had that conversation not happen. So it was like, there's a lot more intelligent black man out there that can actually articulate my nephew's story, right? So if I can be there as a power hitter in a positive manner to just help him shine a little light on whatever's going on, let us be there.
But what was Charleston's perspective on it, and why didn't that conversation happen? Because I feel like his perspective is usually take all the gangbangers and lock them up.
Well, first he flamed my niece, right?
Oh, see.
So he flamed her, but then he came back and apologized. They had an altercation, and he did the same thing he did with everybody else. Fuck the gangbangers, this and this and that. Everybody should, okay, we got it. We got your your narrative. But you told my niece that, and then she don't understand what's going on with her situation, right? And then his mama hear it. Yeah, you said sorry, but we don't take sorry for, you know what I'm saying? Because we not from, like, we are from the streets. So it's like, what are you saying? Like, if you got something to say it to us. Say it to his mama. Don't say it to his sister. And then when I heard he was changing his narrative to speak positivity and help my nephew, okay, that's what but let's get together. Talk to his mama. Talk to me. Talk to some adults that can talk to an adult and figure this thing out. Or what you embarrassed of his mother? His mother been through a lot. You should want to talk to her now because of what she been through. You should want to see the positive story now. But I guarantee you, if she was still in that bullshit, you want to go bring cameras in her face and force her to talk about that. But what about the positivity she's doing now? She's in school, she's working, she's getting love back to life, she's making money, and she's waiting on the day that she get to even do what she has to do for her son.
So she totally changed her life at some point? What do you think, what triggered that?
Just all she needed was love.
Really?
Yeah. And we used to beef a lot, you know what I'm saying? That's my older sister, but when my mother died, she did a lot of raising me, and then as I got older, I drifted apart from that. So, we would argue every now and then, every time I see her, to take her something, to go get her out of drug houses, all these situations, until God was like, JayR, go get your sister. And when I brought her this time back, like, she's the best she ever been, and she's at her highest power. And I love it because she loves herself. It took her loving herself first. Right. And that's the Nina you want to see. The anxiety that she has, that she's scared of the comments, backlash, getting in front. Like, yeah, I want to do this for my son, and I love him to death, and I feel like I owe my kids the world. But taking, like me, you can take it. You've been doing it for years. I can take it because I don't care. But this is a woman that been through a lot. And I'm not saying nobody else has, but be cautious how you step on that because she still has wounds. You know what I'm saying? And I don't want her to run. I'm pretty sure you have people in your life that did drugs, and when they ran, they ran. I don't want my sister to run.
And we know how fragile a person who's addicted to drugs' mental state can be, especially during that time period that they're getting clean or that they're freshly clean the first couple of years or whatever. I mean, I know tons of people who are still in recovery and they've been off drugs for 10 years, and it's still a daily practice to make sure that they don't give in.
But she's doing really good for herself. She had to come. She had to love herself first, and she's very, very stable now. And I think if you give her about 6 months, you can bring her back, and she'll be here to smile and answer any questions and clear up more than probably what that I probably didn't give you. But she went through a lot, Adam. She went through a lot. And like I said, I don't want people to be like, oh, no, you know what I'm saying? We everybody got a hard life, but hear the story before you judge the person, right? And hear it from multiple angles. And I'm just here to tell that side and what we did to prevent it and how we're doing now,
Right. Definitely. So there's that case that he's already been sentenced for, and that's a case where it does feel like the sentence that he was given is just basically like a mockery of justice, because it's just such an extreme sentence for something where somebody on the same case got dramatically less time, even though they pulled the trigger. But then when you talk about the Chick-fil-A situation, where basically for people who don't know what we're talking about, Tay K and his friends, while he was on the run, planned to rob a cameraman. They attempt to do so. The cameraman essentially ends up jumping onto the hood of the car while Tay K and his friends are trying to make a getaway, and then Tay K allegedly like pulls out a gun and shoots the guy and kills him while he's on the hood of the car at a Chick-fil-A. And this was all captured on video by surveillance cameras and stuff like that. And that's the case that's about to go on trial in the relatively near future. What are your thoughts on that situation? Because it feels like even if he had got a more lenient sentence for the first murder, that the second one would probably be pretty bad for him regardless.
Yeah, definitely. Because the eyes are everywhere. So if there's a footage in a situation that has happened, and I guess coming from his uncle's standpoint, looking at that, I was in awe. But at the end of the day, these kids in that time frame that was coming through that SoundCloud, we all know what they were doing, right? They were all on some type of drug. So we don't know if he was, on high or in a different state of mind for all them to go through that and play out that situation like that. That was crazy. I saw it. And at the end of the day, it's just, it's sad, but we don't know what's going on in his head and what was going on in that situation,
No, definitely. No, that's a crazy one. And
Yeah.
I don't know.
I appreciate, and I thank you. I want to come back and tell you. It was emotional for me, so I stepped off.
Okay.
Thank you for the platform, for giving my nephew an opportunity to communicate the human and the individual involved. But I just want to take consideration this. I appreciate the way you're talking to him about it, but someone was hurt. And this young man made a mistake. He's a child. It happens. But what I want y'all to understand is, if he don't have to tell his sister's story. It's his story. See, the injury, but what I understand, everything has a reason, and everybody has a right to feel, everybody, from both ways. But the life that's lost doesn't add to more life to lose. What people have to understand is the situation and circumstances and his story of the condition that they were raised in lets you understand the choices and decisions they make. They don't have it. You know what I mean? But the boy has talent, but you understand what I'm saying? I know the mother. Like, the way she was brought to this world and the rules, it was fucked up, man. We loved her. You know what I mean? We cared for her. We did. The city, Long Beach. 20s insane, but you understand, we was a family. Like all the gangs in Long Beach, no, but everybody don't fucking get along, bro. But this environment for a child, like ain't no fucking Chuck E. Cheese, bro. The fucking swings and the spider and the jumbo gym, that shit don't mean shit. It's not a jumper out there, feel me? Like it's not, and these children are so victimized by growing up under a circumstance where they don't know, because what you think is right is wrong. Do you understand what I mean? Mm-hmm. Everything that you're taught, ABC1 is right, but it's wrong because those things got you fucked up every day. And you didn't have a daddy to go, or somebody to go get, to fight those demons or those things outside. The courage of being a regular man. And there should be somebody there judging us on that factor. Because if somebody tries to harm you, I don't have a problem with you defending yourself. From what? But the circumstances go the other way, you should take that too. You understand? If I'm willing to shoot at you, right, and you shoot me first, my family should understand and see if it's that, hey, I started this shit, you got me. But what I'm saying is we all got the right to believe in this loss. Feel me? But the thing about it is, how much more loss do we have to subject ourselves to before we change our environment? Our environment, this is what exists. This societal gap. And it's fucked up. Because, yes, you goddamn right, these is crack babies. It's not their fucking fault. It's the people before them that had them and they were born off crack. All of these fucking mental issues, they're not fucking ghosts. It's not Casper. Man, these kids are fucked up. Kids are fucked up. And they're just afraid, bro.
The question is like, what does the legal system do?
Nothing. They don't have it.
With a young teenage kid who's, been involved in multiple murders, and from their perspective, it's like locking him up for 40 years, as much as we can say that's egregious, that's over the top. It's like, from their perspective, they're protecting the public.
Right.
Yeah.
And from their perspective, there needs to be punishment for this sort of thing to let other people know that if you kill somebody that you're going to get locked up,
caught. Pay
Right.
for it.
Right.
Look, but there's also called help them. You give them 40, 50 years, but as you go but Now you take that time. Did you help them?
And what are we doing to eradicate that
them
situation?
while you incarcerate them?
Yeah.
Educate them and give them the capabilities that they need. Because you must understand that those choices are only a comprehension and an acceptance from a people that was purged from the understanding and the need. If my growing desire, feel me, is to have these things and acquire these things, but there's no one there to teach me the words or the know-how to teach my hands, the teaching of my hands is gonna become a burden. And so a child, every man should step, but when you step up to your personal God and accept what you did wrong, then you can be right. Everybody know they wrong and they fucking right. But everybody's a human. But guess who's never coming back? So are they victims forever? Yes. So everybody, if there's an understanding, if there's a fucked up little middle part about just this that affects us as being the human and the mankind we are. It's not white, black, blue. It's us. We're generations of acceptance because we're still here. But yet the only difference is judgment. And that's what's fucked up. That child, yes, he has talent. Yes, he does. But does the talent supersede the actions? Or does the birthing mechanism get blamed? Why I'm not gonna blame the water? If he drunk the water and he fucked up, why do you think we was on him? Because we changed him. Because you're gonna be better. He got the same fucking DNA. Feel me? You don't know what your parents did. None of us know what the hell we did that night when our mom and dad met and how they bent over and made us. But it's us. And we must try to find a way to be kind as men. We're not kind as men anymore. None of us. The gangbang shit too far. The Crip, the blood shit. Man, you are my blood fucking cousin. There's too much shit here that's allowed to go too fucking far because all the real G motherfuckers ain't standing up and saying, hey, I taught those children that. Fuck television. The first drive-by they ever saw, you did it. That's how they know how to do it. So to have the courage to go out there and save their life instead of encourage what? Life don't come back. Y'all gangbanging and shit for what? You ain't gonna stay, man, you gotta stand here and understand when you fight for your culture and your race and yourself, but why are we not fighting for societal harmony? How is it not a war out this motherfucker to prevent hunger and the need for this shit to sit up here and victimize everybody? That little dude's a victim. The guy that got hurt was a victim. But his mom is a victim. But when do we sympathize with what's allotted to victimize, to change it? Society's the fucking blame. You're the product of your fucking society. And society push you. They say you better. You're not better than what the fuck you are. I am the better. What's perfect? Look in the mirror, you are. But this is wrong for people to not have compassion and understand. How do we not have compassion for us as a human race, as a kind of? Our motivation should be different. This is fucked up. Because so many kids have died because another kid tried to prove to somebody else something that he didn't know what the fuck it meant. There's too much depth and it's too, you know what I mean? And it hurt me because so many people, when I go to the grave sites, you know how many people die for no reason, brother? And I died for many times for no reason. So before I lock you up, I'm gonna give you 1,000 years. Let me make sure I can lock you up next to a cure for you. So when you do get out this motherfucker, you can be the better. You know what I mean? We just fucked up. It's fucked up. You know what I mean? Thank you though. But get his ass. Fuck that, man.
We good.
I'd like to get his ass. Tell me the fucking truth. Fuck this bullshit.
We good, Unc. I love you.
Tell me, what condition did you grow up in? You, not us. You. Say it.
Pretty normal conditions.
No, him.
Oh, him.
No, because.
Or Tay K.
Yes, how the fuck can I tell you about somebody else when I tell you about me? No, that's your condition. Tell me yours. What happened? Because, God damn it, you got kids from it. Yeah. And they're hurting people. And people need to understand that that's what this shit did. What moral person would do that to a child that would do it to another child? Because that's what made it okay. And that's the condition. And now he in a fucking environment, and they say, oh, he can swim? No, he can't. He's drowning. That boy, his mother, she did, like, her mistakes, her mom's mistakes, and her mom, you hear me? That's what he understand. That's fucked up. And that little dude was, and the boy, they said, oh my God, he got talent. You should see the tears in my fucking eye when that shit came, you hear me? And I said, damn, this is the only time to hear him now. He been tried. But a mistake, man. God damn, it shouldn't cost him his life, man. Not even you.
Yeah.
A mistake, but I should be allotted every man, no matter what tragedy, the better. And if I'm guilty, take the judgment. Thank you. But that, you understand me? You wrong, man, listen, we're wrong, but you can't bring back the motherfucker gone, man.
Thank you, Unc. I love him.
Passionate.
He's very passionate. I heard them speeches many times growing up. He was an OG, 20 Crip, a huge staple in the community, back and forth to prison. Always had something intellectual to give me and show me why not to continue down his path. And I would not be right to come tell a little bit about my nephew and my sister if I don't introduce Long Beach in a different perspective, right? And I like to tell that type of story because that's why what haunts me at night is the mentorship that I didn't give Tamar.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because it's like all this game I have and all these kids that look up to me now, I could have gave that energy to my nephew, but was it destined? And I think that's what he was trying to say, that, you know, me and my sister came from the same product. She went one way and I went the other way, you know?
Yeah, because like he had a tweet at one point where he just said, I just need one shot at adulthood. And that was like a really sad statement because it made you really kind of think about the fact that he never got that.
Never got it.
And his whole life, like the trajectory of his life from here on out has been decided by decisions that he made when he was a little kid.
Right. And you know what's crazy was I think you had a guest on the other day. He was from Compton, and he had a similar story that he got into a shootout in Compton, and somebody lost their life. He was like 16 or 17, and he just got out. You know.
Oh yeah.
And quickly, I don't know him, but quickly I gravitated to my nephew. Right, like something happened when he was in 14, 15, and then him getting out in his 30s. How would he be? So you imagine that every day. And if I'm doing that, how is his mother dealing with that situation, right? Because, you know, I can say she's good on the surface, but she can go in her own room and think about things that she did not do.
Yeah, and I mean, it's crazy to even just see him in the videos when he's 15, and then you see him in court in recent memory. It looks like, you know, a child rapping in these videos, holding guns and yelling into the camera, and then it looks like a full-grown man sitting in court, and he's being held accountable for things that he literally did 7, 8 years ago, which is, you know, I'm not exactly sure what society should do with a 15 or a 16-year-old kid who commits murders and everything, but, you know, it's just it's an awful situation to have to try to make sense of, and I don't know.
Right. It's been awful too. So it's like he's a product of his environment. He saw a lot of that stuff, his mother, his dad, his surroundings and everything like that. So all we can do is sit back, and even from my perspective is just pray and just hope that things is going to turn out, because not only do I want to see him home, I want to make sure that he's home for the right reasons. Right? He can come home, but not come home. And that's what we talk about the military. A lot of guys come home, but they don't come home because mentally his mind can stay in there. We don't know what Tay K we going to get out when he get out, right? We don't know what's going to transpire. We don't know. I know he's reading. He reads. Me and him talked about books. I know he's writing. He has over hundreds of songs. I know he's creative. He's very creative. He has a lot going on. He draws. But we don't know what mind capacity when he gets out, or if he gets out. Is he the same one from the one y'all saw 10 years ago? Or is he a different one, a one that's trying to tell a positive message? We don't know.
Because we've seen dudes who get locked up for 10 years and they come out and they're changed men.
Right.
They got the kufi, they're moved on, they become completely different people.
Right.
And then a lot of times it just pushes you deeper and deeper into the gang shit, because you're going to war, and you're having to fight every day to defend yourself, and you're probably seeing other people get brutally wounded or killed in front of you, and you've got the COs treating you like a piece of garbage for your entire life. And I mean, if he came out and he wasn't very well adapted, you wouldn't really be able to blame him for that either, given the situation that he's been put into.
Right, exactly. Because we had tons of family members get out and they was never the same. Never. Either they got smarter or they just remained the same person. Like, right, so somebody can go into jail in the 90s and probably early 2000s and get out now and they still thinking about the 90s, right? And they mind frame is still 90s. Tupac, 96, 97, 98, 99, all them eras right there because they left it behind, So it's like playing catch up. And I kind of correlate that sometimes with the military. When they send us away, we lose so much time. My deployments was a year long. So I was gone 55 months, but not consecutively. So every time I came back, I had to introduce myself to my family, my kids, my situation, even the man I am, So I know that's difficult, even for incarcerated guys.
And it's got to be weird for you, too, because it's like nobody understands what you were doing out there. Right. And nobody really could understand besides other people who have been through the exact same thing. And I feel like that's got to make you feel kind of isolated and lonely, right?
It does because, people don't talk about mental health in the military.
Right.
And when I started to address it and talk about it, especially for African-American males, we don't tell each other that we hurt. It's like, you got to be tough. So when I was going through my issues in the military with PTSD and TBI, the first thing about it was to address that you needed help first. Like, I need help. Something is wrong. I am coming back to the States and I'm not the same. And I remember when I came back, my third deployment from Afghanistan, and my boy Ken, shout out to Ken Hunter, his family is really reputables in the Fruittown Pyrus, so that I grew up with them too. He saw me at the gas station on Long Beach Boulevard in Artesia, and I had just came back and I had a $100,000 Porsche. I had just bought it. I'm at the gas station like midnight, and I have all the doors open, and I'm just sitting there chilling. And he said, he pulled up, he said, somebody can try to come up and rob you. And my mind frame coming from deployments and already being in war was I didn't give a fuck. So I was waiting for the next idiot to come up, and I can legally blast you. You know what I'm saying? I got my license. So it's like, all right, come on. Come if you dumb, come tonight. And that was my mentality. And I was taking that back into my era of growing up in Long Beach too. So it was like, it really taught me how to hone in to who I am as a person. Like, hey, you got to calm that shit down. If something's wrong with you, go get help.
Right, just because you could beat the murder in court doesn't mean that you should necessarily be putting yourself in situations where you're kind of like inviting.
Like a mousetrap.
Yeah. And if a guy drives up and pulls a gun out on you, it's like, this could go either way.
Either way, yeah.
There's no telling that you're going to be able to get your shit out and handle it on time. It's just like, as you get older and older, when I have conversations with people on here and they're telling me about, shootouts they got into while they were hanging outside the liquor store. And when I think about when I was younger, obviously I wasn't on any kind of like gangster shit or whatever, but yeah, I would hang out at the fucking liquor store all night. I didn't give a shit.
Right.
And then you get older and you just sort of like, as you get a less and less of a tolerance for risk, you just start to feel like, well, why would I put myself into that situation? Exactly. Why don't I stay in the crib? Why don't I stay away from this element in general?
Right.
And it's, when you're young, that doesn't necessarily make so much sense to you.
Right. You just want to get out there and do some Tarzan shit. But yeah, it was strictly mental though. Even though me being the best trained in my psychological profiling and my situational awareness, I felt like I always had the better hand in a situation out there like that. So I was putting myself, like you said, in situations because I knew I was the better person. And that was something mental tricking off, that I'm not supposed to do that. I could just be chilling at home while I'm out here doing this. So when my friend quickly noticed that, he was like, something's wrong, you got to go get help. And then I quickly started to try to go get help. And they put me in inpatient for a while because I had to figure out who I was again.
Really?
Yeah, it was bad. Yeah. So wow. I did 3 combat tours in Iraq, got a Bronze Star in combat, and I did a lot of crazy shit out there in Mosul and Tikrit, Baghdad, Fallujah, all that shit. So,
but like especially being that it sounds like you were kind of like energized by 9/11.
Yeah.
But in retrospect, a lot of people look at the overall tone of what was going on in America at that time, and I mean, the numbers were staggering at that time. If you ask people like who supported the invasion of Afghanistan and everything, it was like 90% of Americans agreed on it, which if you were to ask 10, 20 years later, it would probably be almost the other way. Like,
Yep.
you know, where probably 80% of people would think it was, you know, a war that was started on a false pretense. Like, and I've heard like a lot of interviews with soldiers who come back and they feel very conflicted about it because, and it's not like this is a new thing with 9/11 because, you know, it was the same shit with Vietnam. And there's very few wars where all the soldiers end up feeling like they were, you know, vindicated with what they were doing. Obviously, something like World War II is an exception. Yeah. But even then, I mean, you killed 20 Nazis. I mean, it's not like your brain is just like, oh, they were Nazis, so it's all good. Your brain is still dealing with that fucking trauma.
Human. Yeah, you're still human, you know? Yeah, pulling that trigger is different.
But so how do you ever feel that way? You feel sort of like resentful of the government or the military that put you in that place?
I do have mixed feelings about me, but I know the Army saved my life. But I do, going through certain situations, feel biased to a lot. But if you ask me now, right now, it's like I'm here and I'm here for a reason. And obviously God had a plan for me to make it out that situation way before the military, going in the military, making it out of 3 Iraq tours, and being here now in front of you, the biggest podcast in the world, and you saw me as a bodyguard. So it's like, and I kept quiet for a while because I always wanted to, I selfless serve. I help you what you need. You got this, I do this for you, whatever, because that's what I'm used to doing in the military, you know?
Definitely.
So,
So what change are you hoping to make by like publicly having this conversation about Tay K and what his childhood was like and what his current situation is like? Like how do you think that things could improve for him, or are you more just trying to like kind of raise awareness?
Well, both we doing both. We raising awareness for the youth, right? So that's why I brought my uncle, but not only he's an OG in Long Beach, to see where I got it from. It's not like just me talking crazy or going against the grain, which I love to do. But I learned this. I saw the intelligent side of cripping growing up, and that's what I saw. Like, if you're gonna do something, you better know why you're doing it, right? So, and I also want to show the kids that it's important to have mentors and accept the mentorship, right? There's a bridge between old and new right now, and you hear some of the young guys is, oh, that's an old guy, or you hear some of the old guys, oh, that's no. We got to be able to disseminate that information, and my failures of not doing that for my nephew is the reason why I'm on your platform, to show the world that he had a healthy mom, but his mom went through a lot of stuff. He had a healthy father. His father went through a lot of stuff. He was mentally damaged before all that. He had a losing battle before he started doing anything. So to explain that story and also be an educated black man, because sometimes when we get our platforms and we talk on it, you know, people glorify the bullshit. What about the positivity? I wouldn't be in front of you if I didn't feel your energy every time I met you. You a good dude. You got a lot of stuff going on. I don't want your clout, but also I want to be able to say, you know what? I am intelligent. I am from the hood. I came from that atmosphere. This is what I could provide for the people who look like me and want to follow my story and understand that I didn't think it was a way out of Long Beach until I went to the Army. But that wasn't my story.
No, yeah, I think it's valuable and important for us to have conversations like this, just because it is so easy for people at home to just put Tay K in the monster box and then not provide any further thought about that. And it's like, clearly it's super cliche, but hurt people. Right. And when you look at Tay K, it's just like, fuck, this is a kid who came from an environment that really didn't, you know, guide him in the right direction ultimately with how it worked out, and he ended up lashing out in a pretty terrible way. It's just not as simple as just writing somebody off and saying that they were a monster.
Definitely, and that's why I wanted to come on, and I appreciate you allowing me to come on this platform and tell that, because a lot of people do look at my nephew and my family as monsters who raised monsters. But if you really look at it, we were raised by monsters. But look at us now. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's okay to be a monster when you're little because you got to protect yourself. But now as you get older, you have to mature and figure out who you want to lash out at. And my sister didn't have no choice. And I will be her voice until she continues to grow back into health, because she had, like, her son was the top rapper in the world, and she was living underneath a bridge.
Really? She was under a bridge when the race was blowing up and everything?
She wasn't, she been out there. So people got to understand, like when you see that and you see motion, yeah, my nephew got motion, but nobody can find my sister, right? So where's his mom? Where's his dad? What's going on? You know, because if you take away the cases that happened, he would have went straight to the top. How would I, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, a ton of people like me, when we first heard the race, were like, holy fuck, like, who is this kid? This kid sounds incredible.
Right.
Like, the song is amazing.
Right.
Then you find out, like, oh, there's this whole backstory, and this is why he's not going to be able to, you know, he's probably about to be locked up for quite some time. And yeah, it's just a shame that he didn't get that chance earlier. Although, honestly, I look at a lot of people too, like a Pooh Shiesty, who he got signed. Right. He had hit songs. He made it. Right. He couldn't forget the person that he was fast enough in order to avoid getting locked up. You know, when you look at the couple of different situations that he got himself into, I really believe that if he had been, you know, let's say he got probation for those cases, that he probably would have, within a few months or a year, he probably would have like started living different enough that he didn't end up getting locked up. And it's just a shame that with Tay K, we're never gonna, well, we might never get to see what that's like, but I guess we can't give up hope either.
No, we can't give up, and that's why we do what we do too. Because it's the kids that want to be signed to sports, college and NBA, NFL, and kids that want to be rappers. We need to have a medium in between so we can help them with their mental capacity of, yeah, we got there, but how do you stay there, right? So, because you get a lot of artists that are hot and they get there and they crash out because there's no mentorship. There's party. There's, hey, go do this, and this. But hey, let me sit you down and ask you, are you okay? And that's what Right Hand to God, my company, does for management, is take these kids and mentor them to a spot to where a lot of these kids never had dads, never even had a figure of a male that you can look up to, right? Or even a positive male. My figures of males looking up when I was growing up in Los Angeles and Long Beach was Tookie Williams. You know what I'm saying? Was Cody, was Monster Cody, was my uncle Beefy Loc, was Reese Cup from 20s, was the Gaithers from Insane, was the Fullers. So those were my people that I looked up. Peter McIntyre from 20s, my uncle Pete McIntyre, he's a world champion, my uncle Ricky Harris, who's a comedian. So I had all these positive men in my life that I can pick and choose. My grandfather, Richard Harris, who ran from city council in Long Beach. So we was very deeply embedded in Long Beach. So I looked at this, especially my father. So I think a lot of kids that are doing this need to find or create mentorship situations where they can be guided in financial, spiritual, energy, and how to act, character. Because you know how many people that get to where they're going and they throw their deal away because of one false move? Look at my nephew. What if he had me in his ear to say, hey, don't do that, right? So you Adam 22, but I got to go to sleep at night thinking about that because I see the A side of the situation. My nephew, I can see that he's a top rapper in the world, but then I come to reality that he's stuck in there, right?
100%. Well, I really appreciate your time.
Yeah.
And it was great just getting more backstory because he's one of the more pivotal figures of that era of rap and everything. And obviously his name still rings bells, still gets discussed all the time.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, free Tay K, I guess.
Yeah,
like we got to just stay on top of it, I guess. Because, I mean, there's been a lot of people throughout my time doing this where I see them get 20 years. They end up doing 5. Shout out 03 Greedo. And, you know, it's like you just can't give up hope. You got to, like, make sure that you stay in touch with these people and put money on their books and try to just keep the word alive, I guess.
Our hope is that he gets out and, you know, hopefully his first interview will be with you.
Oh, that'd be great.
You know, I tell his mom and his sister, and he listens a lot to his sister. Shout out to Kayla. Shout out to Cameron. Shout out to Long Beach for real, because this is why we do what we do, and I appreciate you, Adam. Thank you. You didn't have to. I'm not a rapper. I'm not nobody in your atmosphere that you probably would keen on, but thank you for giving a positive message. And I am the hood motivator, and I want to be able to do that, and I would love to come back again as security or whatever you need me to do. This is what I do, man, and I love it. I appreciate you.
For sure, yeah. I mean, my man Vlad always told me that maybe I won't be able to get the superstar rapper, but if I can get the people around him, they might have even more of a real perspective on the person than the superstar rapper might be willing to give.
Right. Hopefully I shed that light for you. Hopefully,
For sure.
Hopefully you're not disappointed in that interview. I appreciate it.
No, it's fascinating stuff, man. I appreciate you so much.
Thank you so much.
And shout out to Beefy Loc.
Hold on. You want to tap in with my sister? You want to tell you she loves you? Yeah, I got you real quick.
Let's do it.
Let me FaceTime her real quick so she could tell you she loves you. She was like, I love Adam.
Can you hold it up to the mic a little bit?
Yeah.
Or you want me to take it?
Yeah. Okay. I got Adam real quick. Okay. He waiting for you. She working. You can see it, right?
$6.
Yeah. Y'all can see it's real life.
Real life shit right
Yeah,
here.
real life
Yeah.
shit. She working. She in school. She grinding.
Hey,
Hi, how you doing?
all right, and you?
Excellent. It's a shame you couldn't be here today, but I understand. We had a great conversation with your brother.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Can
I'm not gonna dox where you're working right now, but
Oh, you want me to cover it up? Okay.
I just don't want to. I don't want anybody to bother you at work or anything like that.
Right?
But
Okay.
what would you say is the number one thing that people need to know about your son that they don't necessarily understand?
Say it again. I'm sorry.
What's the number one thing about your son that people don't understand?
Where he came from, who his parents were, and that like he was just a child. He didn't he was doing what he was doing to survive.
100%. Yeah, I
He
feel
did
like
what he had to do. He did what he had to do to survive.
right. I mean, your brother definitely filled us in a lot on the details of what his upbringing must have been like and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess hopefully people will understand at least a little bit better.
Right.
Where would you say you're at mentally in terms of like dealing with your own mental health and where your son is at in life right now?
I'm better, but I'm still messed up about it. Because that's my baby, I feel like I'm supposed to be able to, you're supposed to be able to save your baby, and I can't, I gotta just put it in God's hand and let God deal with it.
No, that's real shit.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, I mean, I would love to have you on the podcast sometime if you're ever feeling up to it. But in general, I mean, I'm just glad that your brother kind of filled us in and let us hear more of the story.
Thank you.
Yeah, have a nice day. I was just saying, have a nice day. What were you saying?
No, I said just let me know. I guess, if you won't ridicule me, I'll come on there.
I'm not. No. I mean, I'm sure you're going to see this interview, and you'll probably feel like it's a accommodating environment.
Okay, sure.
Take what you give, mama.
Okay, I appreciate you.
Okay, thank you.
Much love. She was definitely taking chances right there because I'm sure she didn't want her boss to see her.
See her, yeah, definitely. But I mean, that's a real life scenario, and I appreciate you. And she speaks highly. She just don't, like you said, criticism and what's happening, and if we push her too much, she'll go off the edge, and that's the last thing I want to do. You know what I'm saying? And,
No, definitely.
And I think we had a positive conversation, and like I said, I appreciate you. And thank you for bringing me on, and shout out to Snoopy Badass too. For real, that's like. That's a family member in my situation too, man. And you know what I'm saying? He got something big coming, so.
That's what you're telling me.
Yeah, you do. Yeah.
I got nothing but love for Snoopy.
Yeah, I know you do. Yeah, I love you.
Yeah.
I got a little a relationship, and I love it that you make sure that he has a voice.
Right.
I was his bodyguard back in the day. Now I'm the president of his label.
Oh, so you're with Killer Inc.
Yeah, I'm the president of his label. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, because I know I got a master's degree in business, so I know a lot about business.
Nice.
Yeah. So.
Appreciate your time, and also Beefy Log. Appreciate you as well, man.
Long Beach for real.
Hey, man, it was an honor and a pleasure to meet this way. I've seen you before, but honestly, I just want this to be communicated like today. What he was doing. What he's really at tonight is trying to really just humanize an individual. But like I said, the circumstances of people, and his I know the mother and her struggle, and I was there for her, and nobody should ever have to survive like this or be a victim of their own societies like this. We're victimized by the way that we're treated by society, and nobody blames that. Our element is to blame for 90% of our wrongs, and like I said, Snoop lost family members, Dad's lost family members. We've lost family members. I just lost my mom, so, and that's why I'm that's why I pushed him to be, because her story is his story, but his choices was his. And the problems that we have in our society is we determine that everybody, listen, man, that gang shit is the death of our cultural beings. We gotta look at this gang shit and now for real that we're the only victims of it. So you can't blame the KKK, you can't blame any other odds against us but us. So as a people, we gotta stop harming ourselves over colors and words and streets and things we don't own. We need to strive ownership and collectivity and responsibility for morals. Because this shit is getting too far where we dominated by, it don't matter if you're a crack baby. You don't have to act like it is. So we must choose betterment in self. And that's why I love him, because that's what he chose. He Long Beach, but it doesn't matter. Everybody is, but you don't have to be from a gang to be brave. And I want to tell any child or anybody listening right now that that's what this means. You don't have to, you can read a book and be brave. The bravest thing is to have knowledge. The only accomplishment a human being can really have is knowledge. You're not acquiring anything with a gun but violence and perpetuating violence and hurting things. Everybody teach your children respect because they don't know it. We don't know it. I don't know respect. I'm 51, homie. Nothing fathered me. So I know the wounds and the choices. And I'm right and wrong. But I'm fucking still right, though. Because I survived. It's that bad of a jungle in this fucked up little world over $1. You know what I mean? And so it's beautiful. Thank you for... And what I'm saying, don't give them no fucking break, bro. You don't give motherfucker no break. If somebody, you make them tell and share because it can save life. Her story real, but be gentle but the truth is, we're raised fucked up. And we're choosing fucked up things. But we're human. And in the better places, you don't gotta be a thug to be something. Just be brave and be it.
Let me give a shout out to Long Beach real quick. I just got a text. Let me shout out Snoop, Daz, DW Flame, Trady, Goldie, Savi, Ben Staples, OT Genesis, the whole Long Beach scene, north, east, west, south, man. I appreciate you. That's Goldie Loke. That's Beefy Loke, man. I appreciate you. Thank you, Adam.
Always,
Thank
man.
you. Thank you.
Appreciate it, man.
Yes, motherfucking.
I needed you to hear this. Yeah, he was
Bang.
part of the DPG. I needed you to hear this, though. I appreciate it.
Shout out Cherry Park. Shout out Houghton Park.
Kings Park, Round Parks. Yeah.
I told you I do.
That's a skate park, too. Yeah.
Those are the two skate
shout out
parks.
to Love, though.
So you're either on the east side or you're
We
north.
was there at Houghton
Shout
yesterday.
out to Love, man.
Houghton's a good park.
Definitely, yeah.
They keep the lights on at night. I know a lot of people who got their bikes stolen over the years there. But don't be scared. You'll be all right.
Yeah,
And
shout
all
out
you
to my homie
old-ass
JD,
rappers?
too. My family, JD, yeah.
All you old ass rappers, don't be afraid to go out there and check the young ones. They need us too. But everybody can say things, but listen, man, we in a game of words. Don't let words hurt you.
The other day I was telling a Chicago rapper that I think a difference between Chicago and LA is that in LA, at least sometimes there will be a situation between two young gang-related people and the OGs will be able to step in and make it stop.
Yeah.
And they laughed in my face. They said, Chicago, that'll never happen. But ultimately, I think they know that is an important thing. Like it would be a good development for Chicago if they had a little bit more of that kind of thing.
It's basically, the environment breeds itself. And the circumstances and the response of people are because of their environment. And so you have to understand that life is the most precious gift. But the choices in it is bigger than what we're doing. And so it doesn't matter. The comparisons only bring insult and bring harm. But the understanding of it and the respect of it, because if we love ourselves the way that we loyal to this shit as a people, we'll survive longer. Motherfuckers is taking too many pats on the back. No, you're killing yourself. Because when the aliens or whatever the fuck come and turn on us, we're not gonna know how to defend ourselves as a human mankind. because we're too busy sharing hate with each other. Every level of the world economically has hate and selfishness in it. And that's not survival. The only thing that can survive in any element, in any life form, at any time is love and compassion. Those are the only things that can coexist anywhere and change and balance that thing. And so when you got a lot of people who are choosing to be fucked up them, it's not nobody's fault you're fucked up. But it's your fault when you're fucked up and don't try to get help to change it. Now, when you in a circumstance, in a situation, shit happens. But when you're fucked up and nobody helps you change, something traumatic happens to make you change. I should be man enough to accept your change and not judge you on yesterday. But it's too much judgment and not enough compassion. Because if we were taught and bred compassion, we would neighbor it, we would feed it, we would water it. But we're victimizing ourselves because of our choices. And that's why I want better men to take that stance. Don't be like that, be better.
Definitely.
Fuck that shit. Games for stupid motherfuckers that don't want to understand it.
Definitely.
You're afraid to knowledge. Knowledge is not a forest. It's a fucking ride. Go join it.
Shout out to Nutcase too. That's my cousin coming home. He's insane too.
Shout out to every man in prison.
Coming home.
Well said, OG.
Prison free.
Appreciate you guys. No Jumper, coolest podcast of the world. Check us out on YouTube, TikTok, Patreon, Instagram. Like, comment, and subscribe. NoJumper.com if you want to support.